It is Weather Channel Live. It's Thursday as well, and the first day of spring. Are you feeling springy?
We did it. I kind of am.
Yeah, I can feel it. Yeah.
Although I had to pull out the sweater today, which I'm okay with.
I think a lot of people are probably with you because a lot of us are waking up colder than we've been. Chris Bruin and Felicia Combs. I know I'm feeling springy. You know how I know? This nose is just
I saw
unbreathable.
a shot of Myrtle Beach this morning, and it was a yellow sky.
Yes.
It was you're into spring and pollen season, right? But for things to bloom, you got to have the pollen, right?
Yeah.
So
always finding the. I feel personally attacked by that package, by the pollen. I've been on the pollen struggle bus, and as I was looking at our graphics that we're about to show, I was like, well, now I see why.
Makes sense.
Across the South, tree pollen has been very high recently.
Timing's everything, because we can have a really cold winter, and you think, okay, well, maybe the pollen will be delayed a little bit.
Right.
But if it warms up as the days are getting longer, because there's a couple factors that plays into the growth of the plant. You need longer days, longer hours of sunlight, and then the ground temperatures themselves. So look at this. March, we get those longer days, and we're getting a burst of warmth. We've at least had a burst of warmth across so much of the country. So we've seen pollen really spike, especially over the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
And even up into that I-40 corridor, Arkansas, Tennessee. I was in Nashville. I've noticed a lot of green there as well.
Yep.
Not quite yet up towards Chicago, but it won't be long. Give it another couple of weeks.
Yeah, so we have really seen with March the temperatures being above average for so many of us. We're seeing some of that spring bloom out a bit early, because you might be thinking, oh, this is a little early for me. And if you were thinking that, a lot of the Southeast, a lot of the Southern Plains actually is experiencing that because of that warmth that we've had.
And it times out just perfectly for all these budding trees. It's beautiful. I'm sure you would even agree.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
beautiful.
Gorgeous. I love when you start to see everything coming back to life.
Yeah.
So of course, in spring, you got the trees and the grasses turning green and all of that again, but I can only see it so much through my watery eyes.
And the pine pollen, maybe not as beautiful. We haven't gotten fully there yet, but we're about to. There's a look at your tree pollen. Notice it's gotten up to even above I-20. We're starting to see the tree pollen starting into the Ohio River Valley in places here, not only in Tennessee, but into Kentucky, the Ozarks, and back across Oklahoma. And notice, too, up towards Las Vegas, Phoenix, getting in on that tree pollen, as well as western parts of Texas.
If you're in the red, I'm with you. I'm feeling your pain along with you. The grass pollen, you can see just kind of getting started here in the same places where the tree pollen are bad, but we're starting to see it there, especially across extreme southern tier with the grass pollen. So some places we're getting hit with both.
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to how weather affects the pollen counts, dry, windy weather. You want rain. If you can get rain every couple of days, it helps to kind of replenish the atmosphere, purify it a little bit, and lower those pollen counts. So that's helpful. It also gives you a nice free car wash sometimes on your car. Low pollen counts are when you have recent or current rainfall. So that's key. Dry, windy weather. Dry stretches of windy weather, that's the worst. Yeah,
and we've been seeing that in a lot of places. I mean, with the fronts moving through. Now, when we talk about our average last freeze as well, we're starting to close in on that across a lot of portions of the South, although we have some freeze.
The house isn't totally damaged, but you got a part of your roof you need to collapse. Now that cold air is getting into the house. It just makes things more complicated and more difficult, and that's what we've seen across parts of the Midwest over the last 24 hours.
Of course, the winds were still cranking as well, so all the different things coming together. Thanks for sticking with us here on Weather Channel Live. Chris Bruin and Felicia Combs going to break it down for you. Some of us still have a bit of active weather moving through. You may notice kind of a dip in those temperatures as that front is moving through as well. One of those places, Cleveland, kind of like bloom watch there in D.C., so people keep a very close eye on that. Keeping a close eye on Leavenworth, Washington, where you can see, of course, some of the higher elevation snow that we've got going on there. We've got that. Got a little person there. It does look like they're like pruning the tree or something. Anyways, hopefully they get that done before the rain moves in, because today and tomorrow some rain, but Saturday will be your payoff as things will dry out, and Saturday actually looks like a much better day. So let's see what's happening. You can basically see this feed of moisture coming in off the Pacific. We've already got that rain moving through the Olympic Peninsula, a little bit of higher elevation snow, and then we've got some of that rain for extreme northern portions of Oregon, Portland, you've got some rain. Seattle reporting some rain as well. Medford, though, you're still dry, but in the 40s. We are going to have that steady feed of moisture continuing into tomorrow as this trough, as this frontal system, this trough moves in. So let's time it out for you. Already seeing rain, but it becomes more widespread and farther south into Northern California as we're heading into tonight. Some of that rain could be heavy at times, some gusty winds as well as the system's moving through. Now, this one isn't quite as far reaching as some of the other weather systems that we've seen. It kind of stays there for the Pacific Northwest and down into Northern California as it swings through. But certainly higher elevation snow is part of the story with this that could impact your weekend travel plans. So if you're traveling across this region, streaming app while you're sitting on your couch.
Hey, I bet they would do it again, though, just a little more carefully this time. And it ended well. Okay, let's get a look at the forecast tonight. Most of us are actually in store for rain. Again, we talked about how warm it is here across parts of New England. That's going to be changing. Cold fronts coming through, 40s here along the coast, breezy, windy, and then below freezing with some lingering snow showers behind it, Felicia.
Yeah, so big changes moving in, but they don't last very long. So the temperatures do dip tomorrow. You'll notice it's cooler. Definitely have a little bit of rain lingering around in Boston early on. Bangor, a bit messy for you. But these temperatures don't stay this chilly. They pop back up as we head into the weekend. But for tomorrow, we are a little bit cooler than we have been recently.
Speaking of chilly, we're going to have a frosty morning here across so much of the south. We got freeze warnings, frost advisories, even down towards Atlanta, where maybe in the city where it'll be in the upper 30s, low 40s, but the surrounding suburbs could easily get down near freezing. 40 in Jackson, chilly in Florida, too. We're talking 50s in Tampa, 40s there in Jacksonville.
You can see our cold weather alerts that we have up for the south. Now, this is actually not uncommon. We see this into late March. We've got some freeze warnings up here across northern portions of Alabama, western portions of Georgia, but also frost advisories stretching all the way down to the Gulf Coast states for tomorrow.
So maybe you've already planted some, fresh landscaping, some of the summer. You might want to cover those, or if you're in their pot or something, you can bring them inside. It's tempting, I know, this early in the season. You want to get the pick of the litter at the nursery, right? And bring in those beautiful colors. We will climb into the 60s. It's still comfortable, kind of on the chilly side, but hey, that high sun angle this time of year, if you're in the sunshine and there's not a lot of wind, it feels great.
Feels great. Going to be a bit cooler than you might expect there across South Florida as well. 75 in Miami is really cool for this time of year. Cold overnight tonight in places like Detroit and Cincinnati. You're going to notice that colder air that's been filtering in. But again, for a lot of these places, it's like this quick dip in temperatures. And then we're warming right back up for a lot of us. Yeah,
pushing near 60 degrees. When it was just last night, we saw 2 inches of snow in Chicago. Blizzard conditions in Des Moines, 58 for us. And look at Kansas City, 64, 67. In St. Louis.
Yeah, definitely a lot better than the snow coming down or the gusty winds that we've been seeing. Meanwhile, we are watching as our next system is going to try to start pushing its way across the northern Rockies, but you'll notice mostly quiet for portions of the high plains overnight tonight. A little bit better chance for some rain as we're heading into tomorrow.
And we're going to be melting that snow in Omaha at 58 degrees. Now here in Texas, kind of a chilly night tonight. Great for bonfires if you want to do that maybe after dinner. And then look at this, we're going to be warming up into the upper 70s. There is a fire weather risk though.
Calling card of spring has been ringing in all of our ears recently. Achoo.
I thought you really did it. That was pretty good.
That was a fake sneeze. Are you sneezing? I've been sneezing. It is officially the first day of spring. Thanks for sticking with us here on Weather Channel Live. Chris Bruin, Felicia Combs. We're breaking down who's feeling spring-like, but who also is a lot colder than
It's gotten cold the last 24 hours, and if you haven't stepped outside, you'll probably feel it if it hasn't cooled off yet.
Welcome to astronomical spring. Of course, we had meteorological spring that started at the beginning of the month, and now we're in astronomical spring. And I could tell immediately because of the pollen, but I will tell you also, a lot of us got that nice warm up. It's been very warm, and now we're getting this colder air moving in. So the weather has been all over the place, which is usually how March goes.
Temperature whiplash.
We're keeping a close eye on our next cross-country weather maker right now, bringing rain and wind to the Pacific Northwest. I mean, look at Seattle. Typically, you'd have a pretty good view from this shot, but instead you're seeing the heavy rain that's moving in. You can kind of see also the gray, dreary day that we have today and tomorrow, a bit of the same. And then by the time we're getting into your weekend, it does improve just a bit across this region. So that's the good news. Let's take a look at what's happening on the radar here. You can see that feed of moisture. You just saw the ground truth of it there in Seattle. We've got rain moving across the Olympic Peninsula, and we've had some pretty heavy snow across portions of the Cascades as well. Some gusty winds coming along with this. You can see moving over into the northern Rockies, a bit of high elevation snow coming down. Right now we've got got rain being reported in Seattle and Portland. Meanwhile, you can see those temperatures are actually fairly mild for the Intermountain West as this system is moving through. We'll continue to feel the impacts of this throughout the rest of today, filling in a bit farther southward down into Medford and Redding. You're getting in on some of that precip. You'll notice that we do get some of that higher elevation snow building into the Sierra as well. There in Northern California, you're getting in on it. And then we continue seeing this fill in across the Rockies with that high elevation snow for your weekend. So if you're doing any traveling across this region this weekend, the weather could certainly be impacting you. We're stuck in that active weather for a couple days. We are going to have that possibility for several inches of rain for the Olympic Peninsula. It is the first day of astronomical spring. Thanks for bringing it in with us here on Weather Channel Live. Chris Bruin and Felicia Combs. Chris, what is your favorite part of spring? What is the thing you look forward to the most?
You know, living in the South, the bright greens that you see on that bright green. Summer, it's more of a darker green and. You know, but you get such a color contrast. Some are blooming earlier. You get a whole 3 months of just constant surprises in the landscape. What about you?
A lot of blooming happening with all the pollen. My favorite is when you're starting to finally get that first pool day. That first day where you could just maybe not get in the water, but just be outside basking in the sunshine.
Yeah.
It renews my soul.
It does. It does.
A lot of us are not getting that though. I take a look at
Tense evening yesterday with strong storms in Illinois, Indiana. Much quieter today. Thanks for joining us here on Weather Channel Live. Meteorologist Felicia Combs and Chris Bruin. We are tracking that front though. That's still producing some rain, but also
wind has been such an issue recently, and we're watching as our next windy, rainy system is moving into the Pacific Northwest. It just looks like a dreary day in Seattle, right? You've got the cloud is going to be a bit messy there for the West Coast for a little while. Let's take a look at Leavenworth, Washington, because I really just like this shot. Waiting for the rain to move in there. You've got rain in the forecast west, though. So let's break it down for you. Right now, you can see our feed of moisture that's moving in, starting to see a little bit of rain popping up there along the coast of Northern California, across the Olympic Peninsula, and then into the Cascades. You're getting some of that snowfall, some heavy snowfall at times. That snow moving across the Northern Rockies as well. Gusty in Idaho Falls. Meanwhile, we're getting rain in Portland and in Medford, so that rain has finally built in there in Medford after it's been dry earlier. Let's time this out for you, and you'll notice that feed of atmospheric moisture just keeps coming in, whether it's from Northern California or up through the Pacific Northwest. It just is a steady feed through Friday as well. Of course, we've got the higher elevation snow and the gusty winds coming along with this. And then we get a little bit of a break, but then we're right back at it as we head through the weekend. So some of us will get a break from this for Saturday. Others are stuck in it. But regardless, you can see the highest totals there for portions of the Olympic Peninsula. Of Thursday and the first day of astronomical spring. And some of us are like, wait, spring? It was 70 yesterday and it's 40 now. I'm looking at you in Cleveland. But as we know, as is March, it's going to go right back up.
So in Burlington, it's 70 right now.
Yeah.
But you heard what Cleveland,
Vermont.
You heard what Cleveland did. So get ready. We're going to probably end out with a little bit of snow. Thanks for joining us here on Weather Channel Live. Meteorologist Felicia.
Nice personnel. Why we compliment each other so well is because he's not canceling at 37 and windy.
I'm not canceling plans really very rarely.
And I'm in a Snuggie if it's below 60. Thanks for sticking with us here on Live. Chris Bruin and Felicia Combs. We got you covered on all of the bases. And I mean, you could see from that shot in Cleveland, as mentioned, the weather's changing as the system's moving through.
Maybe, you know what sounds good right now? A spicy bowl of chili.
I mean,
and that weather gets me, you know.
You're not wrong about that. We do agree. We quite often agree about food.
I'll let the weather depict the menu, too.
Take a look at what we're watching on the West Coast, because some of us are dealing with rain, a little bit of high elevation snow as well. I want to check out this Portland, Oregon camera here, because you can clearly see that it has been wet around this area. Sitting at 48, we've got some raindrops on the camera here. I wanted to say rain flakes, but I mean, I guess they could be rain flakes, but raindrops is what we typically call them. You can kind of, if you look closely, you can kind of still see that we've got some precipitation coming in right now still. So it's a bit wet across the west. Let's take a look at the radar. Seattle, you're getting some rain. It is a soggy time across the Olympic Peninsula as well. We're seeing that rain building in. And then, of course, the higher elevation snow, getting some pretty good snow across the Cascades and the northern Rockies. Taking a wider view of this, gusty in Idaho Falls. We've got that high elevation snow, heavy rain moving in through Portland currently, and we'll have that rain moving into northern California as well. Steady feed of moisture. Now, some of us are going to get a break, like for instance, Leavenworth, Washington, Seattle. You'll get a little bit of a break on Saturday, but it doesn't last very long. That precipitation keeps building in on and off really into the weekend and early next week. So you'll have to plan your weekend here around that precipitation moving in.